Joel Perez, thanks for coming. Welcome to the Anchorpoint podcast. Um, so we're here today with Joel. He's the founder of Mindful Software. Um, Joel, maybe you want to just give us a quick primer on what you guys do and a little bit about the My Dream app that you have built.
Yeah, sure. So, us at Mindful Software right now, we are just building software for customers. So, we're B2C at this point. We decided to do this because we just had an idea, and it was an idea that had been brewing for a long time around dream interpretation. It's something my wife and I have done on our own to just see what our subconscious is trying to tell us and really figure out where it is because our subconscious never lies. It's the most honest thing that you're going to face. Um, and so it's consequently going to tell you things that you might be lying to yourself about. It's been a guide for us and making big decisions in our own life. We started it one day. I had just left a company that was in Space Force. We were a Space Force contractor. I had just left it, and it was we had just gotten a bunch of those kind of weird signs that I'm not supposed to go work for someone else. My wife had been in the US Department of Labor and had been getting the same signs. She had a pretty good gig. Um, but then we just kind of got the feeling like we should start this. And I think it was 2 weeks after she said, let's do it. Her US Department of Labor said, well, you guys have to move to DC or you're let go. She
Hmm.
said, all right, I guess we're building an app because we're not going to DC.
So the Joel, the movie Dune, one of my favorite movies, and in my opinion, great movie adaptation from
Yeah.
one of the best sci-fi sagas of all time. Opens up with the quote, "Dreams are messages from the deep." Actually, I had a I don't feel, I feel like I don't remember my dreams very often, but I did a couple of nights ago.
Hmm.
Um, I was when I was younger, I was a jujitsu and Muay Thai practitioner.
Okay.
Haven't done that in many, many years, but somehow I was dreaming about doing that. So maybe it's a sign for me to go back and I don't know, maybe I should try out for the UFC or something. forget forget
I'd
my
love to say
career,
that that's the
forget
case.
GRC, forget security, forget compliance. I'm a 42-year-old guy that's going to try to make it into professional cage fighting again.
It works every time.
Sure, sure, sure. Look out for me, okay? I feel a lot of like similarities to your journey, right? Like you have a pretty storied career. Like tell us a bit about that because you work in for large enterprises.
Mhm.
You had the types of jobs that folks are kind of like building their career for. The types of jobs where you get there, you're set, like you're set, right?
Mhm.
What crazy things happened that made you think like, I'm not set. Like there's something else out there.
I wish I could say it was all me. But I had just accepted a position to run server infrastructure. At the time, it was a company called Apergy, who was being spun off from Dover Corporation, a $2 billion. Our section was $2 billion. They were spinning us off. They asked me to run all that server infrastructure. I had accepted the role, and 2 months later, my wife finally quit her super stressful job. I had been trying to
Right.
get her to quit. She elbows me on the couch and she says, you should quit your job and we should travel the world. And right at that very instant, I have two different voices inside of me saying two different things. My brain is saying, are you insane? I just accepted this crazy, amazing job. But I can feel my heart saying, yes, that's what you should do. And I told her, I can't make this decision right now. I think we were visiting her father in Florida. And I just finally elbowed her and said, all right, let's do it. Let's drop it all. Let's sell everything and let's just travel for a year.
And, yeah, you told me a bit about like your travels, right? What are some takeaways that you'd like to share with the audience? Like you left the US, you're outside of the US for a
Hmm.
year. Did a lot of soul searching, a lot of dreaming perhaps, right?
Yes.
Um, what were some takeaways from this sabbatical?
think I think the biggest takeaway, and this applies to everyone, is 99% of people are all the same. We just want to be able to work, take care of our family, and put food on the table and do the important things, which is the important relationships with the people we love. As far as other little things, our first stop was like 5, 6 weeks in Zambia. That was my first experience with being an extreme minority.
Mm.
And having, I mean, literally everyone in this small village we stayed in for 5 weeks pointing and staring at you and calling you, and our word is their word was Mzungu, that they would, full time, and that was very weird.
What does that translate into?
Uh,
Bazungu,
white person.
white person, like like in Ace Ventura. What do they call him? Chicago,
Yeah, that's right.
white devil, Chicago. That's so funny. Oh wow. So they okay. So like open your eyes and kind of expand your horizons for sure.
Yeah, and it was really great because we left knowing we were planning on spending about a year on the road. We left in April. We knew we were going to Zambia first, and then we had to be in Thailand in November, and those were the only plans we had. So we just kind of went by the seat of our pants. If a few different people told us, "Oh, you got to go see this thing," we went and saw that thing, and
Awesome.
that is exactly what we did for 12 months. Well, it was like 50 weeks, so just short of it. The long and short is we spent 5, 6 weeks in Zambia, 5.5 months around Europe. We kind of started in Vienna and did a little circle loop around, and then 5.5 months in Southeast Asia.
So this whole time were you kind of like in your mind iterating, hey, this is what I want, the mindful software to be, this is what I want the app to be, or did you just completely say, hey, man, I'm just gonna
It was a lot
take
more
care of
simple than
myself?
that.
Really?
Because at the time, I had just stopped my IT career basically just to go on the trip. It's funny. I'd always said, "I wish I liked coding because that's where all the money is." Most 99% of businesses skimp on IT and underspend their IT budgets. And so I always wanted to build something and be at that first layer, right? IT is a layer on top of software. So I wanted to be on that kind of somewhat creative coding layer, and I had just had some bad teachers when I was in school. And so actually when I was in Thailand, I decided to just start taking some coding classes. That's the case. And so I started taking some just basic code classes. Um, Shout out to Codecademy for that, for just some
Code
basic
Academy.
free courses just to see if I liked it.
I'll
And
throw a
and
link
I
in there
there you go.
with promo code Joel Perez for Flow Factor.
Exactly.
We're not there yet. We're not there yet on the Anchor Point podcast. Maybe we will be one day.
Yeah, that just started me to say, and I enjoyed it enough that I said, "All right, let's switch careers. Let's see what's going to happen."
Let me ask you something that I've looked at and examined and thought about over time too. But Joel, you went from a very comfortable, pretty well paid job, right? Well paid career.
I wish it was as well paid
Well, as some may imagine,
as
sure.
people think it is.
You went from a comfortable salary to making a lot less. Did that change the way that like you approach finances, life, the way you looked at or valued things? Because like for me, transparently, to when we started Anchor Point, yes, like
Mhm,
I took a big cut, and it really made me re-examine the way I place the hierarchy of value in
mhm,
life. Because I think nowadays I approach things like, what do I need to do? What do I want to do with this company and our future, rather than like I want to make X amount of commission, or
mhm,
you know I want to close X number of deals, right? It's more like it just became a more big picture for me.
mhm.
So for you, how did it change for you?
I think that that value proposition of money and things like that definitely changes at a very fundamental level because, when you're working for someone else, I mean, even the people that are great workers that are passionate about what they're building, they're still building it for somebody else, right? To me, the big thing that changed when we started our own business was the realization that I'm going to do our process based on what I believe in my morals. And those morals, for better or worse, are gonna get in the way. We don't sell data. There's a lot of things we could do that would make our business and our life easier, maybe more profitable. I'm just not willing to do those things. So it's not that, it definitely changes the value from maybe money driven and, that side of things. But also part of getting older is realizing that happiness wins that. And for me to be happy means me being true to myself and what I believe at the end of the day. And that might make my life more difficult. The immoral path is the easier one, but that is not one that I can look myself in the mirror and be happy either. So,
Great answer. Yeah. I think about that when we have hard days, right? When we have difficult days as a startup. I mean, we're bootstrapped at Anchorpoint, right?
yeah,
And you guys are as well, right? Like you're doing this on your
completely
own.
self-funded, yes.
Yeah, yeah. So, um, yeah, that's great. What would you say now that you have a small like budding company, right? Like,
Mhm.
what are some of your biggest takeaways that you've learned over the last year or two of business? What would you like to share with the audience? And what's your biggest fear being an entrepreneur? What's your biggest goal? What's your biggest dream?
So the biggest fear, is really losing people on my team. We've, had plenty of turnover, especially well, I'm the CTO and my wife's the CEO, so I'm over the engineers primarily. And we've had some turnover just trying to find great people. And right now we found great people. My biggest fear is losing those great people
Mhm.
because I want to provide a service that, keeps them employed, keeps them putting food on the table, and keeps them also building something that they believe in. And that comes to kind of our greatest goal. And it really comes down to improving people's lives. The whole point of this app and what we're trying to build is to get people to talk to their subconscious, to get people to just listen and say, oh, maybe I should think of this, doing this a little differently. Maybe it is time to, you know, talk to my mom. Maybe that's what it's trying to tell me is this really important relationship to me that I haven't had in a while. Maybe it's time to revisit it and maybe put down our differences and figure things out. Those messages and getting people to make decisions in their lives that make them happier is the goal. We get feedback from testers, users pretty much every time. It has me going and honestly makes me even tear up a little bit. Um, it keeps me going for just days and weeks on it. That is the joy there. That's what it
Hey,
comes down to.
that's a great mission, man. And I love to hear that from you. We met 2 weeks ago on
Yeah.
a little like discovery call, and
Mhm.
I felt like we got so much out of each other, in such a short period of time.
Same.
So, for folks who don't dream or can't remember their dreams, like how does that start for you? Or
That's a
what
great
would you
question.
recommend? What would you recommend?
That's a great question.
You're
So
like my spiritual guru, Joel. So I'm looking to you here,
I don't claim to know a lot.
but you share what you know.
I've just learned how to listen, and that's really what it comes down to. Because my belief is that everybody has this innately in them. And it's the subconscious side and the more direct side of like dreaming, and it's hard to call it direct because it's very ephemeral, it's very symbolic. I think everyone can relate to the feeling of they're walking out the door to go to work, right? And they just get this feeling of like you should grab an umbrella today. And they're like, "What?" It's just like a back of the head thought kind of thing. Like, come on, it's not supposed to rain today. I already looked at the weather for I'm not going to grab an umbrella. Sure enough, they're leaving work or they're going to lunch and it's a downpour and they're going, man, I should have grabbed that umbrella. That is the feeling. Learning how to know when those come up. And there's certain red flags you can have. To me, the strongest ones or the big giant waving red flag is exactly what I talked about when it came to quitting that job. When I had a feeling of, yes, I should do it, but it's not what I want to hear. It's not what I want to do. And that is like the biggest red flag. If you get a thought that comes into your head and it's something that you like feel that maybe you should, but you really don't want to, guarantee that that's intuition. And we're talking about like leading a business too and how that can work. And if you read into those things, good business owners and people that are successful in running businesses. They're successful, and this has been studied multiple times because they can make decisions based on incomplete information. That is where intuition lives, is in complete information. And that is what makes the business at the end of the day, the leaders of business successful.
In your career, did you have a pretty like healthy relationship with just work in general, or do you feel like you were a product of like toxic environments and super corporate culture. Like I definitely would say yes, that has hit me over my career number of times,
Mhm.
inspired me to start my own company. But I'm curious what it's like for you because you seem like such a positive dude. I can't imagine you're not like me going into work, like me at some points in my career going into work. Like I hate being here. you know, I
Yeah,
think I'm quite transparent and emotional in a
absolutely.
sense. Yeah.
I am generally a much more positive, optimistic person in general that, and anyone, if you ask, they would say the same thing. But it does not mean that I haven't had those days, right? And
Yeah.
everybody has those days. And it's pushing through those days, which is really makes success in my belief. But also, I think the earlier years when you're just getting your foot in the door in IT, which starts generally on a help desk, making a terrible wage, taking terrible phone
Yeah.
calls.
Yeah.
Those days were painful, but those are the foot in the door days. Those are the days that give you the experience. In my case, I started when I was 19. Um, give you the experience to then take the desk side job and work for people that you really enjoy, And at the time, my company had been bought out. We had been a 400 employee company and we got bought by Dover. Um, the nice part was, at least the people I worked around, I respected and enjoyed being around. And that makes a big difference. Now, that maybe needs to be said that in the IT world, there's always one who's your grain of salt person
Yeah.
where every time they bring an issue to you, you're just like, okay,
Mm.
I'm just, I'm just going to roll my eyes here and go back to the thing that affects 100 people and not, I can't load Excel on my computer. I'm sorry, I'll
Love
get
that.
you when I get you.
Yeah. 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 Man, we've talked about a lot. This is good.
I wanted
Um,
to ask you because we're kind of still bordering on the IT software kind of thing, and you guys are a security company. So the base question is, how is security changing? The context side of it is, we went from when I was running IT, everything was on prem. We had 30 some odd different physical networks that were all VPN together, that type of stuff. We're now becoming much more cloud based, and that was 10 years ago. But now we have AI also coming into. So now we have kind of AI agents that are doing these things. So let's just take my context, right? I think we have 10 employees total. We're all remote. And all of our services are cloud hosted services. We don't have anything on prem. What is the recommendation for security, for maybe even like AI agents? We use Cursor to code every day. We use AI. AI writes 95% of our code. We just evaluate it. Cursor comes with security bots. How good is that? What holes are we missing? Where do you see this going?
so I am of the belief because I have worked at identity and access management security companies for many, many years now. That identity is the perimeter and has been, right? Security, MFA is one of the most like basic things you can do,
Mhm.
but it is also right now one of the most effective things you can do. Passwords get cracked, right? Like usernames and all that get cracked.
Now, is it cracking? Because I don't see actual cracking very often. More so, I saw lots of social engineering attacks.
Yeah, that's what I mean by cracked, right? I'm like
Okay.
using general term, but yeah, yeah. I mean, these things can basically are vulnerable, right?
Yes.
Engineering intercepting MFA was even like a huge thing. People's SIM cards would get swapped, and then
Yeah.
their their retirement accounts would get emptied somewhere. My
Mhm.
gosh, what a terrible way to go. But in your case, right? Small company, a lot of vibe coding, like a lot of AI writing your code. AI has really accelerated everything across the board.
Mhm.
So before a small SaaS company building an app, you would run like a vulnerability, assessment maybe once a quarter, a pen
And
test maybe once.
that's not going to be as much on the network interfaces. That's gonna be more code
Yeah.
leaking, things like that, like holes in the actual code base.
Right, right. Penetration tests were done like once a year, right? Because
Mhm.
you'd only test for major releases or once a year maybe for like compliance reasons, right? Now that you have AI coding tools, you have AI penetration testing as well, like agentic testing that you can run much more frequently.
Yeah.
right? So you, instead of running this once a month or once a quarter or once every few months, like you can literally run this all day long. Like
Mhm.
you code, you test, you code, you test. And I think that's really like the singular piece of advice I can share with a lot of folks right now. AI makes everything a lot more efficient. You can test a lot more efficiently. It doesn't cost you as much anymore either. But
Exactly.
the faster you build, the more code, the more you're using AI to write code, you can test it just as frequently as you're writing code. So
Yeah, it
yeah,
almost integrates it into a unit testing type mindset.
yeah, pretty much like it should be part of your process. Yeah. Like a regular part of your process, not like how we do it when we want to or when we
Yeah.
can, but like just literally has to be part of like your company culture almost.
Yeah. Yeah, I know
Yeah.
we integrated kind of automated bug bot testing and bug bot AI side of things for code on PRs, and that's been amazing. And I'm sure we could do the same thing on the security side.
Yeah. Yeah. Joel, tell me a bit more about the My Dream app. I've downloaded it. You guys are on iOS and Android?
Yes, we are on iOS and Android. It's a React Native project, so we code in one language and we get to output to two, which is really nice. We don't have to manage both code bases, basically. I have a different strategy kind of to most people in software. I think it's coming around and becoming more standard, but when it comes to software, UX wins, plain and simple. If it's
Mhm.
easy to use and intuitive, you're going to win. And I believe in that so strongly that we spent a full 12 months researching and designing. I would say before I wrote a line of code, but I was writing the infrastructure and preparing it to be ready for my team to start grabbing tickets and rolling as soon as we hired them. But either way, we didn't build any real part of the app for a whole year while we interviewed dream experts, organized how we're going to structure the data. What are we looking for? What are the common themes between I think it was about 8 different dream experts, and asking them through their process, how they did it, kind of synthesizing that down into how we would actually run the app and be able to provide this service in the best way we could. And it was just meetings after meetings with my wife and I and our UX designer, just going over every fine tooth detail. And then after about 12 or 15 months or so, then it was go time. Then that's the first big fear, was that time when you say, okay, design's ready. I think we're ready to just go build this thing. Now it's time to spend all our money.
Now it's time for the burn, right?
Now is the scary time. Are we really going to potentially burn all of our life savings to make this thing happen?
And how is it going right now? You guys have pretty decent number of users, as I understand.
Yeah, so we launched February 20th, which is ironically just exactly
Okay, yeah,
3 months.
exactly.
3
Happy
months ago
anniversary.
today.
Wow.
The hard part for us is it's our first mobile app. So
Sure.
and it's a new market, right? It's kinda health and wellness, it's kinda spiritual woo-woo.
Mental
So
health.
it was hard for us to look for what our expectations should be. I think our overall unique user count is around the 700 mark. We've been a bit delayed on the marketing side of things. I can tell you all, my engineering team and marketing team who have worked on other apps before, every single one of them has said this thing is 6 to 8 months ahead of where every app I've seen launched. We are the wait till it's really good to launch type people. We're not we need to get something to market, and we need to get, a couple subscriptions and a little bit of income. That's not us. We're not going to build anything that we don't believe is finished.
How are you finding users? Like you said, like it's kind of in the middle of like health and wellness and mental health and
Yeah. So,
spirituality. Like, I mean, you found me as a user because I found you, but
yes.
how are you finding like naturally uh everyone else?
Yeah, our strategy so far has been, in as few words as I could say, the kitchen sink strategy
Uh,
on marketing. We are hitting everything. We've had an animator that we contracted for a while. We're hitting all the social side. We have been hitting influencers here. We had some technical difficulties on attribution. Basically, it's really hard to pass ad attribution data through the store install to know what ad that install or subscription came from. That's the only tracking that we do at all. We don't even look at any dreams unless we ask people. We blind them from all our analytics, et cetera, et cetera. So we've gone kitchen sink. It took us a while to just kind of get all that ad stuff together. Some of the third parties we were using just weren't very good and had honestly had a lot of fraud where they
Mm.
say they had subscriptions that came through their links and we wouldn't see any subs. But we're now kind of hitting it hard. We've got a few influencers that have downloaded the app, installed it, really like what it does. So we're hitting that. We found a media studio. He's a comedy writer. They have recently recorded, I think, 4 or 5 short skits, comedy skits for us that we're going to roll out as commercials to streaming services like Amazon, YouTube TV, things like that. We now have more marketing staff than I have engineers, which is just part of the process. We went through last year. Our first engineering hire was in March last year. Thanks to AI, we code like a 10-man team,
Mhm.
as just 4 of us. So we got to launch in February. And now that we launched with an app that's already got a lot of solid features, it's really solid. The business really has to be focused on marketing. Now it's how do we get people to know we exist? We don't have, and I almost don't want to jinx it on the podcast, but we haven't gotten anything less than a 5-star review. When you
That
go
the
in,
app looks great. Like I've
thank
just
you.
like you said, the UX awesome.
We knew that that's how we win is design and UX, especially in a consumer-driven app. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? It might be different in a B2B context where it's basically just make it work and do the thing. But when you're in a consumer context, there's a certain beauty that is also required. So we've spent a lot of time on making animations really nice and smooth and things that people don't even notice, but make a difference in the long run. So yeah, that's really been the plan, is going whole hog. The other side that actually has been better than expected was expos, going to expos. So we
What
did
kind of expos?
the one that was really good for us was the Mind Body Spirit Expo. We went to the Mind
Oh.
Body Spirit Expo in Denver. We talked to a lot of people. I mean, my wife and I showed up there for the first day and she liked it so much that I think 3 or 4 hours in, she booked every Mind Body Spirit Expo that she could find. Basically, because we're at the point where, our conversion rate is really high for an app. I think we're in the 12 to 15% conversion rate for downloads, total users to subscribers. It's a huge number, which is great for us. It shows how good the app is. But it also, now our job is to get eyes on the app. Just get people to know it exists. Because it's also an unknown market. People don't know that these dreams are actually telling them very important things about their life. And so there's a little education there to show people that this can be very valuable to them. But then there's also this thing exists. You can actually do it. We also priced it very competitively. We wanted it to be accessible too. So we made it very cheap. Our annual plan, I believe, is $80. Or is it? I think it's $70 a year, or if I could remember right.
It's a
Eight
lot
bucks a
cheaper
month,
than a therapist.
$8 a month or $70 a year, trying to make it, super cheap for everybody, so that we can get a lot in. We would rather improve more lives than make more money at the end of the day. We still need to eat, but
Right.
if we can improve a lot of lives along the way, this can be a win-win thing. This is how business should be, in my opinion.
Same here. I do also think that we are just in a social and political, not that I want to go there, but just everything about society lately. I think that it's ripe for what you guys are offering.
That's something that we also thought too. People are realizing that they're not happy in those, 9 to 5 corporate jobs, or they're not happy in the routine that they have. And they're going to look, I believe people are starting to look for those things that make them happy. And one of the fastest ways to do that is to just see where your
Look
dreams are
inward.
sitting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Look inside yourself.
Everyone dreams. Every mammal dreams. I see my cat, sleeping on his side, just like
They do. They do.
doing this all the time.
Oh my
Everything
gosh.
dreams. It's an actual biological requirement, but everyone dreams. So
There
that's a very easy way to basically ask it, what am I going through?
There are fewer things in my life that warm my heart more than watching, like, especially when my kids were very young or babies,
Mhm.
toddlers, watching them smile and laugh in their sleep. It's the best.
It is the absolute best.
Yeah. So for everyone out there listening to our podcast, go touch some grass, listen to
That's
your
right.
dreams, listen to your intuition. Joel, thank you so much for this conversation. Enjoyed this conversation tremendously. Would love to stay in touch and
Me too, Joe.
let me know what you guys are up to. Yeah, I'll stay in touch. Let you know what we're up to over here. Continuing our mission of in the B2B security world, it's a bit hard to sometimes like find a mission like you guys, right? Like improving lives. But for us, it is like you said, our clients will always come first.
That's right.
We do that, and the money will come. We're worried about that later.
That's it.
So,
Take care of your customers, do the right thing for them, and they'll do the right by you. That's that's how we work, right? And yes, I really hope that we can stay as friends for a long time. Every conversation we've had has been amazing.
maybe I'll go to a Mind, Body, and Soul conference, right? Like, was that what it was called? Mind, Body.
Mind, body, spirit yep. We'll we'll find you. We'll give you an eye mask, some beanies. You know, if you're
What am
there,
I?
we'll probably have a T-shirt or a coat
For
for you.
sure. Okay. Joel, thanks so much. Talk to you soon. Okay.
Thank you, Joe.
See ya.